Hello and welcome back to the My Journey podcast. This is once again a solo episode by me. And this time I'm going to be talking you through a topic I've mentioned before, which is how I get my clients. Now, in a previous episode, I spoke about how I got my first client and then the unusual story behind that. But this time around, I'm going to give you 3 different ways I've built my client list and attract new customers. But before we get into that, I just want to say, if you're listening to this on a podcast platform, make sure to subscribe and leave a review. And for you guys watching on YouTube, thank you for doing so. Make sure to subscribe, comment, like the video, whatever it is you can do to help grow this podcast. It would be much appreciated. So yeah, into today's topic, which is how I attract clients nowadays, and the 3 different ways. And I've kind of known about these 3 different ways for quite a while, and there've been things I've been trying to put into practice over the last probably about 12 months. But the last 3 clients I've onboarded, or some of which I'm still in the process of onboarding, but last 3 clients that I've kind of attained, each one of them has used a different one of these methods. So it kind of goes to prove that these are successful ways when the last 3 clients I've got have all come through one of these 3 methods. So the first one I'm going to talk about is quite an obvious one, and that is through referrals. It's something you'll hear about quite a lot, and it's something I'm quite like. I think when I get a client through this method, I'm probably the most happiest because it means someone else has liked my work enough to recommend me to do some work for somebody else, which is a big tick in a box because it's not just based on you selling yourself or you overhyping yourself potentially. It's based on someone's experience of using you, that they think you're good enough for this other person, which is always great to hear. So recently I had this, and it was a slightly different way. It was through the co-working space that I used. That someone in there who I've done some events with, a guy called Tim Goodfellow, go check him out. He's a copywriter. He was working with a client doing some blog posts for them, and they said about social media, and he referred me to them. So we've worked together before on events and in what we do day to day. And based off that experience, he recommended me to one of his clients, which says a lot really about the work that I do and what people think about what I do. So I'm really happy with that. And yeah, that's the first way you can build your client list is through referrals. But to have referrals, you need to have had the customers or people who work with you in the first place. So one of the other main ways that if people are starting out in business, or if you've been in business a long time, you will have heard of, and probably even if you're not in business, like running your own business, you'll have probably heard of is networking. Now, I've got some probably a little bit controversial views on networking. Now, I won't say they're like really controversial, but people who are in networking probably would like to hear what I have to say about it. But I'll probably get into that in a different episode. It's one me and Tom have earmarked to do on the dual episode, so we might do it on that. But yeah, networking, when done properly, is a really valuable tool. And basically, networking just means meeting new people, building new connections, and building rapport with them. So I've met Tim, who referred me through the co-working space. That is networking. And by having that network, I've now been able to be referred for work. The other way you can do networking is through networking groups. And that is the way I got another one of my recent clients through the co-working space. They put on virtual networking events throughout lockdown, and it was through one of them that somebody said, I was introducing myself, said what I did, what my offers were, that kind of thing, and somebody said, that's just what we're after, please can we sit down and have a chat. So off the back of that, we then had another meeting and we chatted about social media and what it is that this company does. And we're still going through the process of onboarding, but they're going through a really busy period with their business. They're going for funding and things like that. So it's totally acceptable. And I'm doing loads of other stuff, like, well, not loads, but bits for them in the build up to actually getting going with this. Because the business isn't actually fully live yet. They're holding off on the social media, which is fine. But just going back to the networking thing, it's through being part of that community, being part of that group, that I'm able to gain new customers. And then off the back of that, hopefully this guy will like what I'm doing, and then he may refer me in the future. So you can see how them two kind of work really well together in terms of getting new clients. And then swiftly on to the third and final way for this podcast is doing events. Events are a great way for building your client list. It's something that going forward I actually think might be, I'd like it to be my main source of customers in my pipeline, because it's such a great thing to do. I love doing events. I love speaking in front of people about the topics I know about, sharing my knowledge, that kind of thing. And the idea is that off the back of doing events, you're speaking to a room full of people who 9 times out of 10 want to be at that event, so they want to know what you have to say. So they're already a warm lead, and you're the only person they're listening to. So it's a great opportunity to get across your philosophy, the way you work, impart some wisdom on them that shows that you're knowledgeable at what you do, and kind of build your brand within that room. So one client that I'm currently working with, I put on an event for Barclays Eagle Lab, which if you're a regular listener to the podcast, you will have heard about. And through that event, I talked about social media and like an alternative approach to social media. Now, it wasn't anything too maverick. It was just trying to take people away from this point of view that everyone chases likes and followers and that kind of thing, and just trying to take a step back from that and go, what's the bigger picture? What are you actually aiming for? Does your business survive on likes and followers? No, it doesn't. So let's step back from that and let's try and build a brand that you can leverage to turn into revenue in the long term. And it was probably, I don't know if it was the same afternoon or the next day, but I got a phone call out of the blue, and it was somebody who'd been on that event, was calling me and saying, look, I really loved what you had to say yesterday. I've been talking to some other agencies, but I don't really like what they're saying. Could you help me out? And now they are a client. And yeah, it's just, that shows how that process works. So I put on an event, I imparted my wisdom to that audience. The audience was brought to me by Barclays Eagle Labs. Most of the people on that call I didn't know, were people I would have been able to reach had I done it on my own. So leveraging someone else's network, the Barclays Eagle Lab community, was fantastic. And then by seeing me on that call, this guy's thought, that's what I need. I agree with that philosophy, and then made contact, and now he's a client. So it just shows how you can kind of take that opportunity to be in front of people and convert. And within that presentation, which was probably an hour long, I mentioned my services twice. Once at the beginning, once at the end, and that was it. The rest of the time, I was just giving out stuff for free. And that is really a bit like what social media is like. I think you should be giving out a lot of free information, lots of insight. Each week I put out news posts, if there is any news about social media, opinion posts, all that kind of thing. And then further down the line, I will put out a sales post, which hopefully then converts some people or generates some leads for me. And that's the same with speaking. So they're the 3 ways that I have, I generate my my client list at the moment, and the 3 ways I generated my last 3 clients. So it does show that it works. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. If you're new to business, how do you think you're going to get your new clients? If you're been in the game a long time, what's your main source of customer acquisition? Where do you get your customers from? But yeah, I just thought it'd be interesting to share them 3 different ways that you can go about acquiring clients. So that's referrals, networking, and events. I think events for me going forward is the place where I see most of my clients coming from. I think it's the place where I'm most excited to gain clients from, because there's a bit of a buzz in the acquisition as well. I think networking is a very good source. Probably got the highest pool of people for me to get out of them 3. But it's a much longer term thing. So a lot of what I do on social media helps convert the people I meet at networking events. So you connect with them initially, and then what I'm doing on social media off the back of the networking events then helps me convert them. So networking in itself, I don't feel is enough to convert people because they've got no evidence of what I do. Whereas speaking events, they can see my approach, my philosophy. Referrals, they know that someone else has used me, so they've already got that point of reference that I am good at what I do. But a networking event, it's just me saying that I'm good, and they've got no point of reference, so you need other stuff alongside that. Obviously, social media plays a huge part in everything that I do, and I feel it feeds into all three of them because I know that the guy who came to me through the event had checked out my website and my social media, and he had some questions about my social media, like my approach to it and stuff like that, and he totally agreed with the stuff that I was doing, which was great. I know the guy I met on the networking event, he checked out my social media before we had the meeting. And I know the people had the referrals, they've referred to stuff on my social media. So obviously, as being someone in social media is a big part of what I do, but it should be for you guys too as well. So make sure that, yes, you've got that touch point, which is probably the thing you would put the customer acquisition down to. So in my case, the meeting, the referral, the networking, or the speaking event. There's lots of other stuff that plays into that. If you can do a really good speaking event and then they go and check your online presence out, it's not up to scratch, you could lose that client even though you've done a great speaking event. So you just got to make sure that everything else is there to support it. I am also trying to up my game in terms of acquiring clients through social media. What I find though is when I'm putting out quite a lot of content on social media, the people who see that are the people who are on social media a lot anyway. So they've probably got one of the two things I look for is time and understanding. And they've probably already got the time to be spending on social media if they're already on there. So it's quite hard to convert them because they're thinking, well, what am I paying you for? Because I think I know what I'm doing and I've got the time to do it. I need to find the people who don't have the time, so the people who aren't on social media, and the people who don't have the understanding of social media. That combination is great, and that's why these three ways work so well in getting me new clients. So yeah, let me know down in the comments below, or if you're listening to the podcast, drop me a message at the MJ Social. That's on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, and let me know what you're thinking about how to acquire new customers. I'd love to hear your thoughts. But until next time, thanks for watching.